hello there, gorgeous magical creator. Let's go ahead and jump into our next ritual technique. So we want to address this notion of self-sabotage because it almost seems inevitable at times that when we set a goal for ourselves or we set a plan out for ourselves, something can happen along the way to achieving that goal. And we may find ourselves with a plan of writing the sales copy or creating a blog or getting started on that webinar, and somehow magically, instead of doing those things, we catch ourselves cleaning the kitchen again, or perhaps updating the website when it doesn't really need to be happening right now, or scrolling on Facebook. And this is something that I think all entrepreneurs and really all humans just have in common. So we're going to talk a little bit more today about the goddess energy of Persephone. And the reason why we have chosen this energy to hone in on is because in the story of Persephone, she is abducted by Hades and taken down into the underworld. And there is an aspect to her energy that has to do with being veiled or hidden, which is often the way we think about our subconscious kind of competing desires that are happening simultaneously right alongside our goals and our plans. So as we think about this hidden or veiled aspect of ourselves, we can think about this notion of self-sabotage. And in the NLP realm, when we talk about self-sabotage, we talk about it as actually being caused by a small microparticle of ourselves. We call it the subpersona. And what it is it is a part of us that has broken off from the complete whole, usually due to trauma or micro-trauma. So it's not necessarily grand scale trauma, life-changing trauma. It can be the little micro traumas that happen in everyday life where we experience rejection, pain, hurt, and disappointment that can create the subpersona. And the subpersona is merely a part of us that has a goal for us of keeping us safe and keeping us protected and keeping us happy and well. And so while we may normally think of self-sabotage as being this kind of intentionally self-defeating, even masochistic tendency, that's not necessarily the case. It's usually that there is some little part of us that has an alternative goal. If we have a goal of creating a webinar so that we can find clients and make sales and do all of these great things in our business, the subpersona may have its goal of keeping us safe from rejection and therefore may set us up to procrastinate and not do the things that are necessary to create that webinar. So it's rather easy to address the self-sabotage once we identify it. So as you think about the ways in which you catch yourself procrastinating or not getting through the tasks that you've set for yourself or not following the plan, think through and try to identify where the subpersona might be coming into play. Perhaps there is an aspect of you that has an alternative goal. So just to give you a simple example that's non-business related, I worked with a client a few years ago who had a goal that she wanted to come home from work every single day and go straight to the gym and do an exercise routine. And she noticed that day after day, despite having this goal and this intention set, she would come home, flop down on the couch, turn on Netflix, and eat a snack. And what we discovered pretty quickly in working together is that she had what we call a secondary gain from not achieving that goal, which was she had a very hectic, stressful job where she was on her feet all day, and there was a part of her that desperately looked forward to coming home and flopping down on the couch and getting some relaxation time. And so it came about that we needed to factor relaxation time into her bigger picture goal. Otherwise, it wasn't going to happen, or it was going to be in constant competition with the other goal. So when we think about a secondary gain or kind of the benefit of not achieving our goal, we can pretty easily hone in on where that sub-persona is at play. So once you have identified that for yourself, and you are able to say, okay, I think my sub-persona is just trying to keep me safe, or I think my sub-persona is trying to satisfy this other need that I have over here, now we can begin a very simple NLP technique to take care of the split, this internal division that we have with our desire. So allow yourself to conjure up this notion of the sub-persona as a real living, breathing aspect of you. Now, some people like to think of it as another little person, or as a child, or as an animal, or a cartoon character, or it could be an inanimate object. It really doesn't matter. It's completely up to you, and there's no way to get this wrong. So you can be as creative as you would like. So conjure up that notion, that visual image of this sub-persona as it looks to you, and identify what its goal is. Is it protection? Is it relaxation? Is it safety? Is it love? What is that sub-persona's actual goal? And once you know that, we're going to invite the sub-persona out from within us for a chat. And the easiest way to do this is to kind of imagine it in the palm of your hand. So if it's a physical object, you can envision it as, how big is it? Does it have a texture? Is it hot or warm or cool? Does it have a color or a shape? If it's a cartoon or a person or animal, you can visualize that as well, and all of those details that go along with the sub-persona. And the first thing to do is to thank the sub-persona for coming out to have this chat. And you can ask it, what is your goal? What is your intention for me? What is it that you're trying to create for me? And once you have that answer, you can then begin to share with your sub-persona in a conversation, hey, I really appreciate you trying to keep me safe. I really appreciate that you're trying to generate relaxation time for me, or fun, or love, or protection, whatever it may be. At the same time, however, I have this bigger picture goal that I'm trying to do for my business. And the fact that I keep not achieving the things that I set out to achieve is making me feel bad about myself. And be honest about the emotional reaction that you're having to not getting things done, to allowing yourself to procrastinate and self-sabotage. And tell that sub-persona, hey, I'd really like for us to work together on this. Your goal is blank, safety, protection, relaxation, love. My goal is this. Let's work together and come up with a new focus for you that achieves both. So say, for instance, your bigger picture goal is the webinar, and the sub-persona's goal is protecting you from rejection. You can assign the sub-persona a new task. Tell you what, instead of getting me to clean the kitchen again for the 1,000th time, how about if your focus for the webinar is coming up with really slam dunk content that's beyond ridicule, that's so high quality and so engrossing and so captivating that my audience will absolutely love it and thereby avoid the rejection and remain safe. So that's just one example. So the goal is to give the sub-persona a new task that satisfies its original goal and your overarching goal for your creative project, whatever it may be. And once you have that goal in mind, make sure you take that new task and incorporate it into your bigger picture plan so that that sub-persona now can stay occupied, positively occupied, and still achieve its goal as well as yours.